Give a voice of an apartment store mannequin. She always makes me breathless and panicking. There's nothing I can do but stay out of sight. With every passing through my son, I feel uneasy. She says my name and my thoughts get crazy. There's nothing I want more than this tonight. Lips the color of poison dot frost. Eyes of blue of my deepest fantasies. Sudden pain keeps getting away. Sweet like antifreeze. She's got this voice that was down from the hill, and it descends to 95 to kills. Didn't know I'd die for a word from those lips. There is no alignment for other agendas, and we always decided someone to defend us. But it all fades away when she wiggles those hips. Lips the color of poison dot.
Well, hello there. It's me, your old pal, Big Ugly Jim, who doesn't know how to previously set up his audio. So instead of being ready, I'm holding my camera so I can see the friggin' screen. Anyways, I'm here with probably one of the coolest people in the whole wide world, Mr. Nathaniel Bohnet. Say hello to the people.
Hi. This is weird. This definitely stems from high school, but hard T, not soft T. Bohnet.
Is it Bohnet?
Bohnet, yeah.
Bohnet?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a terrible, terrible person.
No, don't feel bad. The amount of times, like, I just have flashbacks to high school and having someone call my last name and, like, going Bohnet, and just the additional cringe of having your name publicly announced over the intercom plus having it being said wrong. Just, shivers, man. I don't know why.
I totally get it. I have the super big joy of I go by a derivative of my middle name. So my parents named me something completely intentionally different, so that my childhood would be scarred by every time some teacher came into the classroom and was like, oh, okay. So your name is, and, doing the attendance thing, they'd get to my name and it would always be like, please just somehow no, please just somehow no. And they'd call my first name and everyone would be like, because that's what fucking kids do. And I hate them all.
Yeah. Other one is when people, instead of Nathaniel, like getting the, like, how everything kind of morphs together and the TH like makes that sound. I hear Nathaniel a lot. And I know that's more so just due to accents and all that, but it's just, oh man.
We have a comment here that says, Nate, get closer to the mic, from Thomas Arthur Fougere. I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
You know what? I'll also just turn my gain up a bit. That way I can lounge a bit. Tom, let us know if that is better.
And thank you for the very helpful feedback.
Yes, thank you. That right off the hop, getting levels right.
Right, totally. And a good podcast host would have done the check for that.
Well, I mean, you can only do so much before you go live.
Yeah, Zachary Anderson says the comfy gains, and Tom says, "Boom, perfect." So it looks like we're kicking some ass and taking some names.
Hells yeah!
So
thank you for having me on.
Oh, dude, my pleasure, man. Thank you for being a part of this. This is it's funny because it's like a thing that I never really thought I would do. Everyone's always like, oh, maybe one day I'll be like a live podcast person, but like it's never been a motivation. And then I started doing it, and now I'm all like, oh, I can do more. I can do all kinds. I got OBS now, and it's pretty ridiculous.
I love that you're excited about it. And not only that, you have an idea and a concept, you're rolling with it, and people are receptive to it. Like, that's all of that coming together. That's what's really awesome. And that regardless of like who watches, like, I credit it as a small success either way now, because I like the fact that it's something you're enthusiastic about and putting out there versus, like you said, there's a lot of people that think of ideas and then either go into it and don't really put everything into it and just kind of like test the waters, be like, oh, I'll put in an effort once I see some response from it, versus like just doing what you're doing, like, oh, I'm learning things. I can do this, I can do that. I'm gonna test that out next time and just see what happens. Like, I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. And and the funny thing is, like, my first time doing this, I had a thought on like late on a Tuesday, and then I was like, yeah, I should do that. And I threw together like a Facebook page, and I was like, I don't know, does anyone want to talk to me? And the next day, I had my first chat, and it was with DJ Temple, and it was just it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was just two friends having a conversation, people that haven't seen each other for a while because COVID is a thing that we all are struggling with, and yeah.
Well, talk about setting the bar too, like getting DJ as your first host. Like, I remember when he was down here to do a Concrete Wasteland episode, and we had him before Without Mercy show, and we just rushed through what we could, and it was like, this is nice, but we were on like episode 50 something at that point, and we were just trying to figure out ways to make it like work, because ever changing, ever morphing, and yeah, the fact that that's where you started, it's gonna be hard to get to that bar.
I don't fuck around, man. And it's just a trip. Like I regularly am getting people that are asking me to be a part of it. That is really cool, because like I genuinely, this was just a moment in time. Like, maybe I'll do a thing. I don't know. How hard could it be? It's probably really hard, and I'll probably suck at it, but all right. And it's been super fun and rewarding, and I've had some great conversations with people, and some people that like for example, Juanita. I don't know if I've ever really hung out with Juanita. I certainly don't like know her. Mm-hmm. And you know, having a conversation, it was like, oh, this is cool. You're a person I can really enjoy talking to. Right on. And yeah, I can't say your name.
And that's what I really like about the fact that you're doing it, not just like audio chat, but you're like live streaming it too, so that everyone can see our interactions. We can see each other and kind of read each other just based off what we can, even if it's a little pixelated and grainy from time to time. It's still better than not seeing you. And then, like you said, it allows individuals like you and I to have conversations that, quite frankly, even if the pandemic wasn't happening, we probably wouldn't have had much time to have, because our interactions are usually at shows, and we try to get as much into those few minutes where we can actually talk in, but it's so little time amongst like the interactions that we're able to have. So this is a nice thing to do. And I'm really excited to just actually be able to sit down, relax, talk, and just like chat, shoot the shit.
Absolutely. That's what this is all about. We're just two dudes having a chat. I'm really enjoying. I like hearing, you know, what people have been up to. You know, speaking of which, what you been up to? Host.
Sorry, I'm just
high pitched screech when he speaks. Nate's mic sounds normal. You know what? I'm willing to bet that is because of some kind of weird feedback. I apologize. I have earbuds. I can't use them with the phone because the phone is made of garbage. And I literally, like, I can use them to answer calls, but I can't listen to this on them, and I don't know why. So if we're getting feedback, be the annoying tech guy. I totally get it. My plan was I have a webcam that my youngest gave me to use for this, and I was going to use that, and I did not. Is it like always happening, or is it just sometimes, like, if I don't talk for a bit and then I start talking?
It's mainly when you talk, because I think they're hearing what I'm hearing, and yeah, that's just simply because of the situation. Versus like with me, I have my in-ears in, I don't have anything coming out through my speakers, and I'm going into like a small mic chain as well, just because my webcam mic didn't want to work, or I was muted, whichever one, and I just decided, okay, screw it, I'll throw this together. So I don't know if there's any fix around that right now. I hope it's not too much for everyone, though, because
my hope is that I'm not like driving people insane with the screechy awfulness. This is actually why. Yeah, this is why I need a webcam. I'm gonna have to use the phone real quick because I realized it's not plugged in, and that means that it's going to, you know, not live forever. And who wants to live forever? My phone wants to live forever. It's like a harmony of fizz with my speech. It's tolerable. That's actually how I speak. It's I like to have a fizzy kind of harmonic voice. No,
it's like a fuzz pedal just permanently on your voice at all times. You had it installed at a young age, and it's just now a part of you, you know?
That's just how metal I am. Metal AF. Not too
awesome.
bad. Sounds like a computer fan droning. That's what that's the number one feedback I get on dating sites. You're a really nice guy, not too bad, but you sound like a computer fan droning.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'm just kidding. I don't go on dating sites. So what's been up, buddy? Tell me all the stories.
All the stories. Well, been trying to keep as busy as possible as things going. I guess Christmas, I was trying to get a bunch of stuff ready to maybe do some live streams with bands, and I'm constantly kind of in the flux of trying to get things set up how I want them so that I can just bring someone in and troubleshoot. And, finding a time where that's, the right thing to do is always difficult. I'm personally not really in the boat where, due to having roommates and one that has a small child and just me having to work, I don't feel like bringing people into the house on a regular basis is a good idea. So I'm testing things amongst myself, just different chains, different cameras, figuring out what I can, working on a bunch of covers. Ray and I are gearing up to release an EP in April. I think we have a single coming up in March. So we shot a music video for that in the cold. We had 2 different dates. We did one in a tunnel that's just by our we have this like park in a coulee, and there's this nice little tunnel that's there, and it kind of people would walk through, and we went, okay, cool, let's take the drums down there, take the guitar, and there's only 2 of us right now, but we can figure something out. And our good buddy Tommy, actually, who's been our distant sound tech, actually came in and filmed for us as well and did some editing.
Right on.
And we did something there, and then oh god, was it 2 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago, yeah. 2 weeks ago, we decided to do the second shots in my garage. So I worked a shift, came home, hauled everything out, hauled everything up into it for like drum kits, set everything up. Tommy showed up. We did lighting. Ray and I did our stuff. It's pretty cold. Broke a rack mount for one of my toms. We were about to do one more take, and right as we're about to go, the one rack tom just falls, and there's this nice, clear, just nice break. So there was a crack somewhere, and the cold just aggravated it, and it went. So yep. I went and quickly ran a replacement.
Did Ray get an audio of it so that he could, they could turn it into a new drum noise for rare band stuff or whatever names are named?
I'll have to ask Thomas about that, to be honest. I'm pretty sure we have it on camera because it was right at the start of a take. So more than likely, Tommy, I might find me the sample for that if you can and send it to me, and I'll send it to Ray because Ray might find some use for that.
I have a feel that Ray is one clever human being, and the number of times that they do things that like just blow my mind with just, taking weird sounds and like making music out of it. I just think that's fucking cool. I can't do that. I only make bad sounds with guitars and basses and trumpets.
Ridiculous how much she's diving into it right now too, because Ray's room's right above mine, so we have my control room here, and then her bedroom's upstairs right there. So when she's working on stuff, like I can hear the heavy bass coming down once in a while, and it's really cool. Like going upstairs to get a coffee and just hearing like whatever videos like tutorial is going on or whatever like progression is now happening through the 6 or 7 hours of them like just creating something interesting in the room, and then hearing the progression of it too. And just like she has this drum machine sort of thing. It's so much more than a drum machine, but just it works within its own program, and it's made specifically for DJs and beat makers. And she's made a bunch of videos like on TikTok within Instagram.
I've seen a couple of I think only one of her videos with that, and it was I'm not smart enough. Like I was the kid when I was a child. There was that game like where you go boom, 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 and it was blue and red and green, or Simon or whatever the hell it was called. I was sucked at that. So watching her do that, I was like, that's fucking badass. That is so badass.
And the things that it opens up to, like, I will admit, like, as much as I try to be an open-minded individual when it comes to music, that also stems from a fact there was a time where I was not a very open-minded individual in music, and it kind of bit me in the ass a couple times. Just, I've been very much, I'll go against the grain. If something's popular, I'm instantly veering the opposite direction. So like when death metal and thrash metal were the hype, I was like, that's cool. I'm going to gent metalcore. Cool. Everyone's gonna hit.
That's actually pretty fucking awesome. I'm just gonna try and experiment with these and see if I can figure out a way to make it happen while we're talking. So please don't think I'm ignoring you.
Are those blue? If those are Bluetooth, if those are Bluetooth and you're gonna connect to your phone, it's gonna work. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna work.
I hope it is, but often what happens is no. Like my
Uh-oh. Well, 1 second, everyone. Harvey. No. I believe.
That's just two bad things. I don't know.
I believe you're back.
And I'm hearing it in my head. This is never. I was doing Facebook Live with this before, and it never worked. So I'm actually pretty stoked with this app. Air 5.
Yeah.
And is this here?
That sounds way better to me.
I'm trying to make it work, and it's not working. Are you still there?
Yep.
Okay, hang on. They're not very smart. I think
the Matrix has claimed him. No, he's back. He's back.
Keep talking.
Hello. Ready ho. Here we are, yammering with Jim on the Yammering with Jim show. Howdy ho, how you do? There you are, looking at me while I look at you.
I have to jump off and jump back on. Give me 1 sec.
Sounds good.
This is such a bad fucking host job. Okay,
dude, it's all right. This is the beauty of live entertainment right now. I feel like I'm back at a show, guys. It's like that moment the guitarist breaks a string and you realize it's actually extremely essential that they have that string for the rest of the set, and you're on song 2 of 5. So I'm just going to use this as my practice for those moments. How have all of you been doing? Oh, I just have this natural tendency to just over talk. Apparently, I'm actually kind of notorious for it, and I'm trying to not do it as much in natural conversation, especially if I'm streaming with my buddies online or playing video games. But just, it's kind of something I've developed while playing online multiplayer games and shooters, just to kind of keep me occupied and focused on what's going on. And it's ridiculous. I'll get into these moments where I'm just like trash talking or going into my Macho Man Randy Savage voice. And then we're going to go and take that championship title and get some headshots and show them why we are the cream of the crop. Brother.
Let me tell you, brother, there's one thing I can't stand. It's the people who don't understand the 10 Commandments of Hulkamania.
We could be a really shitty tag team.
We could do it.
Brother.
We could take them titles.
Does it sound better? Because
it sounds a lot better.
Okay, cool. I don't know what the hell happened there. There was a series of hilarious, unfortunate mishaps, but now I know I can do this, and that's awesome.
It's all right. Everyone got to hear me go Macho Man. It's all good. I only bring him out on certain occasions, so it's a good time.
It was worth it. I almost didn't want to come back just to share that excitement.
Well, we had the world powers unite though, and that hasn't been a thing since 1997.
Let me tell you, brother, Perestroika, Glass Notes,
Here on Yammering with Jim. Randy Savage.
I love Randy Savage. Just a god.
Whenever I think of Randy Savage, like, because I got into wrestling more so in like that ruthless aggression area in the mid 2000s, I always think of him in Spider-Man. I got 3 minutes alone in the ring. And just that
Bonesaw is ready.
Bonesaw is ready.
Yep.
And
like, I'm so glad that happened, because honestly, every time I was thinking of Hulk Hogan, what I was thinking was that fucking awful Randy Savage was that Be a Man Hulk video that he made.
Oh God.
Where it was like, do you remember this? It was him he wrote a rap song calling out Hulk Hogan as
No,
like
he
an
wrote a rap
old ass
album.
man.
It wasn't just a song.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wrote an
yeah.
entire rap album.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, dude, you are having a hard life.
Oh man, he was too busy stepping into a Slim Jim.
As you do.
Yeah. Oh.
So
man.
what's going on in the Med Hat? I mean, you're keeping busy. We already talked about that. Octave Studios. Not terribly long ago, my stepson, the Demon, came up to Octave Studios and recorded some vocals.
Keep forgetting he's your stepson. That he has
right.
He's got a hell of a voice. I wasn't expecting what I heard out of him when he came here, to be completely honest. Like, I never know what to expect. Everyone can sound completely different. There's some people that can be very large frame and have very small voices, and there can be like little guys that have huge, like just bellowing like vocal cords that just really, really throw you off.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
For like, if I remember correctly, he was like that kind of grunge sort of like vibe he has, and not like the Cobain dirty-esque kind of thing, but more so that Soundgarden, Pearl Jam sort of like ability to hold a note and continue on and flow with it. You know what I mean? Like that, the fact that he had that blew me away. And just, oh god, he's a fun kid.
He is, and I'd love to take all the credit for that because I'm a stepdad. But the reality is that, oh shit, dropping things. The reality is that his mom, she used to be one of the Calgary Beer Corps bookers. She's hard as fuck, awesome, single mom, raised him, the hard way, and did right by him, taught him I remember rolling up to his elementary school, and she's blasting the Tourette's, fucking A, motherfucker, motherfucker, fucking A, motherfucker, motherfucker, fuck. And he's like, Mom, what the fuck are you doing? Like, totally mortified. And, his 13th birthday, we threw at Elorbs from the Press Gang's house. And, the Beer Corps all came out for a 13-year-old's birthday, and we had a blast. And so he's been very much raised in this. And his mom and I split up. We're still like best friends. But we split up a few years back, and I was really hoping that would be, like the end of the road for him being a musically interested kid. And no, definitely not. Like Nate Trash gave him one of his battle vests.
Yeah, I think I saw him in that actually. When I stopped by, I want to say it was around Halloween when I came back. So I had to go pick up these in-ears and a few cymbals. And I stopped by Trash's so that we could do our little podcast with him. And right as I pull up and park, there's Demon just like walking by. And it's just like small world where you just like come into Calgary, and the first person I run into outside of a friend's house is another friend. Like small world.
I had I had a moment many years ago. My youngest daughter, Peach, she was living with me at the time. She was like 12 years old-ish. And we're walking down 10th Street in Kensington. And Karina, who is Demon's mom, and Emma are teasing me, Peach. Are teasing me going like, everybody. You're a superstar. And I thought of this scene from a movie. And I was like, oh, yeah? If I know everybody, then I know somebody like on this street right now. Don't I? I probably don't. I look up and I was like, that's Kale from... Arcalios. Bad example. I don't know everybody, but it's it's a huge city, but it's a small town.
Exactly. And I love how our community is kind of like bridged, like the fact that Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Calgary, we have this level of interconnectability here. Like even within the chat, like Chris and I, we go way back. Like not just like Chris back Thomas. When he was in the not like back when he was in the Reckless Heroes and I was in Illusion of Daylight, which never got out of Medicine Hat. Like just my first band where I was trying to do stuff and I was putting on shows. But he and I met when I was like 10 or 11. No, I was 12 or 13, and he lived about 3 blocks away from me. And we met on a golf course. Our his dad and he were golfing, and my grandpa and I were golfing, and our groups got paired up, and lo and behold, there we are jamming playing a few shows with each other a few years later, like constantly thinking like, I swear I know you from somewhere outside of here. Like, what the hell is it? And then we finally click and figure it out. And it's just, again, that level of interconnectability that our scenes have. It's cool where those lines are, and like how the yarn is stretched out amongst multiple people after a while, and how those things just kind of branch.
Well, and I think the thing that I really enjoy about it is it's all of these creative minds, and we're all, you know, like we've met, you know, a bunch of people that are in the scene will have met throughout our lives, and somehow or other we all kind of wind up in the same room or the same band or the same whatever, playing the same stage, and you realize just how, like, you know, creative people are drawn together. And this, you know, Calgary and Medhat and Red Deer, they are music scenes that try to foster that rather than crushing it with, you know, stupid battle of the bands things. And when I say that, like, I used to run band our punk versus metals, you know, the Carnage series that we did for Calgary Beer Corps, which originally was Karina's idea, Demon's Mom. So, you know, credit where credit's due. Speaking of, you know, we were talking about her. But yeah, so I ran these punk versus metal shows, but they were never intended to be battles of the bands. They were, you know, like that was sort of the subtext, but we would just, like, the bands got paid. You know, we didn't make a penny off those shows, and it was about, like, let's just get exposed to new bands. We don't, you know, we can't possibly keep up. And it was just really cool to experience all that.
Well, there's a difference between that, where you're fostering something that's to literally grow the underground bands and give them all a chance. And the battle isn't so much like a battle to see who's better. It's just a battle to see who's going to get the better crowd response tonight. All 4 bands on this bill have equal footing. So I'm guessing lineup doesn't necessarily matter. It's literally just going to be a hodgepodge of what works this time. Let's see who has the best response to the crowd tonight. Let's see who sells the most merch. It's not a matter of, like, seeing who's better. It's just being like, okay, if we're going to brand it as Battle of the Bands, it allows the bands to have some fun with it too. They're playing with their friends.
Oh, yeah.
It's no different than playing beer league hockey. You still show up. You still want to win, but you're not going to be mad at your buddy for beating you and getting a hat trick that night if that's the case.
Unless he takes his skate off and stabs you with it, because
okay, that's a different story.
Fuck you, Gary.
Yeah, at that point you got to ask, why is Gary constantly allowed in the dressing room? I don't care if he pays the fees and the fines. There's got to be a point where you tell Gary, go home.
Ooh, I'm the guy who cleans up I'm the janitor or whatever. Fuck you, Gary. You're a garbage human being. Like, stab people. I hate you. Yeah. I hate you.
And that's so much different than the landmark events, for example. Because I remember, like, when I was in Oath, we did those, and for me it was an experiment because I've heard of them, and I was like, heard all the shit about them, and then also heard the few people that were saying moderately okay things about it. So it's like, okay, well, there's a lot more crap than there is good, but, you know, fuck it. Let's see what happens. We need to play in a bigger city anyway because we're a Medicine Hat band where the population's 60,000 or 70,000. So we did it just to test the waters, and yeah, it definitely isn't worth what they say it is. It's definitely, like, a completely different beast, and I'm glad you don't see them that much anymore. And if they ever pop up, do not submit to them, because even if you get to a certain point, you're not going to, that final round never happens. that final round never comes. And if you're paying,
it's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
And if you're paying, like, money to get into that, money to get the equivalent of what is something I literally can do. I went and checked. We used the exact same camera. So, like, you see me at shows, whether it was Oath playing or just anything, I was randomly straying the lawn. I always had, like, my blue JVC camera with the tripod. That is literally what they did. They just set that up somewhere, hit record, find the best spot in the room where you'll get a decent sound, and go, okay, cool, give us $50 for that. And you're like,
yeah.
On top of the ticket thing, that's another thing I never got. If you're going to cram 24 bands into a ludicrous amount of time, the tickets, although I get the premise behind their business model, not saying I agree with it, I get it, but there's a point where you have to be like, okay, what's reasonable and what's literally just gouging these bands? Because guarantee most bands can maybe sell 5 or 10 tickets to whoever, wherever.
Yep.
But telling someone to sell 40 physical tickets for a show that the fan base isn't even at, because most of these bands are trying to break out somewhere else, are being like, oh no, do a live stream ticket. That's definitely not worth its value. It's like, you're not benefiting anyone, versus, like you said, with like the way did things, that helped foster something within like that scene that gave new bands an opportunity to come up and try something, that allowed bands that weren't in the area to come out and see how they were received by the scene. And that's, to a degree, like at a certain core of it, how it should be.
Well, and yeah, like what we wanted to do with that was we wanted, Mark and I talked about this at great length. And the whole idea was, we recognize that there's always new bands that we haven't heard of. Mark and I, especially back in the day, like we would probably just be not putting on the show, but be at a show between the two of us 8 nights a week, which, like 4 each kind of thing, minimum. We were always out, and we still were missing bands because there were bands that, just we hadn't seen. Punk versus metal was really like, it's Thursday nights, distortion needed, punk versus metal, whatever venue we're at. It's always like Thursday nights are shit. So let's do something. And let's use this as an opportunity, not to get bands to compete for amazing cash and prizes. It was like, okay, we'll split the door with, the bands will get a share of the door. We're not doing anything on a fucking Thursday night. Might as well have a couple beers. And this way, me and Mark and whoever else was, sort of booking shows at the time in the beer core, get to see these bands and be like, come up to them afterwards and be like, I really liked what you did. This is the kind of bill I want to put you on. Give me your phone number. You're like, let's do this. And a lot of bands that we worked with came out of that exact thing. Unlike landmark events, who will never call you back.
No, and they'll give you the reach around too. I remember because when I was in Oath, I was the one that had to do most of the emails and the back and forth to keep track of stuff, just because I volunteered myself. I'm very bad for volunteering myself for things, then realizing I've volunteered for way too many things. But
you're reading my life story right now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you understand. And just the reach around though, like being like, hey, so we can't do this event because it falls in line with our tour. Because I think that's when we were doing the Toxic Playground run, if I'm not mistaken. Can we move this just because our tour lineup lined up right at that time? There's no way to make it work. Oh yeah, no problem. We'll get you on the next one. Hey, so when's the next one happening? Hey. Oh, we'll have someone get back to you. Cool. Oh, so-and-so will now do it. And then, just repeat it over and over.
You're left there like, guys, it's still me. Am I like, can we play? We're cool.
Yeah, we thought we did the thing. We did the thing twice. Like Little Medhat Band somehow came and placed first twice. Like, can we do the final thing? Like, we don't expect anything else from it, but we'd at least like to see the process through. You start something, you may as well finish it. No, okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, then I guess we'll just go around hating you, and then when we hate you, you guys can be like, I don't understand why they're so unprofessional.
I don't understand.
I will give them that they had guys like John Asher. I think John Asher did it.
Yep.
As a judge, like, they had some. You always hear like, you'll be judged by industry professionals, and 9 times out of 10 that means they call me and they're like, hey, you free on Thursday and want a couple free beers, which is a bullshit thing to do with a band, because they can just call me and be like, hey, exactly, it's we're awesome, but we're not that awesome.
No, I don't get paid to do this full time yet. As much as I'd like to believe like that I'm there, I'm not. Like, so many more steps to climb.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I mean, like, you look at a guy like DJ Temple, who has put in a whole pile of work, and they've done the tours and they've done all the crazy shit, and their new album is like blowing up. He still runs his school. He's still, like, being a rock star ain't easy.
No, it's not. And it's really about like branching out. And I'm actually grabbing a pedal just because it's a very good example of it. Because one of my personal favorite bands, Periphery, is the perfect example of that. In my opinion. I do too. And like the fact that Get Good Drums, Horizon Devices, like the fact that every member in that band to some degree, or majority of the members in that band, have found different ways to make money off music that still fulfills their desire to do what they love to do. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
That's my ultimate goal with like audio engineering. I love performing live. I love playing with the band. And the best way for me to be able to do that isn't by working my entire life at a 9 to 5 or part-time somewhere. It's eventually being able to run my music studio, working with bands, helping build and develop bands, and fostering that same mentality that we've been talking about and helping things build, while also then allowing myself to dictate when I can focus on that. And when focusing on that now allows me the opportunity to take the right amount of time, in my opinion, needed to properly focus on a band that wants to even be mildly serious. Because there's a different mentality, I think, that comes to playing the Alberta circuit and jamming with the bros and going out, gigging, and doing what DJ's doing. Yeah. Completely different ball game. And I very much have always kind of been on the directive of I like the way DJ's doing things. I don't know if I'm ever going to be in a project that even gets mildly to what Without Mercy's even at. But a part of me really wants to fucking try and just see what happens. But with that, there's a lot more that has to happen.
And that's you bring up a good example. Like Periphery they are people that want to be career musicians and aren't willing to sort of sacrifice that. And so they have built other businesses around what they're interested in. So like I'm not a drummer. I bought a Get Good Drums thing recently because I downloaded Reaper. I paid for it. I've got trying to figure that shit out.
Can you repeat that? Downloaded Reaper and you what?
I paid for it.
Thank you. Guys, Reaper is not free. I love the fact that it's like basically a continual license, but $60 is not a whole lot to shell out.
Exactly. And like, so I had originally, when COVID hit, I wanted to work on a recording Amigo Phantasma. Did not happen. I just couldn't get the rest of the members to buy into the idea. But I downloaded Audacity. Audible. I mean, I have that too. But I downloaded Audacity, and it was specifically because I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And I went all out, man. I gotta tell you, so this is what I did for scratch tracks for my first real band, Johnny Incognito, because none of the band knew the songs well enough to like throw a scratch track out. So it literally was me with a microphone downstairs going 2, 3, 4. Here comes the tape. And the whole album. I did the entire album like that. And I was like, fuck it, I can do that. I can do that with Amigo Phantasma. So I did exactly that. And I made scratch tracks with my stupid voice. I played trumpet over top of them. I was like, hey guys, go for it. But that was the thing. And then Bodies of Everest has been using, we're all using different tools. And that's proven to be a bit of a weird thing. Like when I make an MP3 out of one of Reno's drum patterns, using Audacity, and then I send it as a MP3 with like me playing with the drums, and then I send just my instrument as a bass, or as a wave file. Sorry, he can't line it up. It's because something in there is like just suddenly like if you line up the ending, the beginning is off. So something's weird. So we're like, why don't we just all use Reaper? So I've downloaded Reaper. I paid for Reaper because that's what you do when you pay for or when you download things. Grown ups fucking pay for shit.
Yep.
I don't pay for stupid shit. I use LibreOffice. Right?
Smart.
That's a free office thing because I don't give Microsoft my money unless I have to. But if somebody's giving me a product, especially a small company, is giving me a product that I'm really gonna use and enjoy, you're damn right I'm gonna pay for it. Anyways, I'm babbling. Holy shit.
No, don't worry.
So I downloaded. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say on top of that with like the premise of Reaper quickly. I can't remember what it was that the main creators created. Maybe it was PayPal. I could be wrong, but I know the individuals that created Reaper literally just made big on some late 90s, early 2000s.com thing, and then went, I want to make an affordable DAW for everyone because fuck Pro Tools. Yeah. I love that. I love that. The fact that someone went, you know what? We have all this money. We could hoard it, invest it, do whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or we could create a tool that allows creatives and musicians the ability to literally do anything they fucking want. Like, there's constant upgrades. Yep. Obviously, there are some things where you have to figure things around. But the fact that if you're familiar with any other DAW, you can do the same things in Reaper. There are things that you can take from one and transcribe to the other and figure it out. And yeah, sure, it's $60, but the fact that they also go, here's a free trial, we're not going to lock you out of it if you don't pay us. Like, that is awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And I think that further means that people should just, if you use it a lot, give them a little bit. If you're only opening it up like once a month to mess around, I get it. I get it at that point. But if you're someone who's like you or I or anyone in a band who's constantly going around like, I'm going to use this for ideas, man, just give them the money. It's gonna make it so much easier on you.
And $60 to just say thank you, right? That's how I look at it. Is like $60 for me to go, I can do whatever the fuck I want to do now. Thank you. That's awesome. So I downloaded the one of the Get Good Drums packs because I'm not a drummer. I have 2 drum kits in my basement, but they are not mine. And I have occasionally sat at them and gone like, doom, 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 ting. But it's not my skill. It's not my jam. I could do it if I'd spent the next 10 years learning, but I'm not going to do that. So I downloaded them, and the whole idea being like, as I'm writing my own stuff, I want to be able to not necessarily program my own drums and be like a one-man band or anything like that, but like I want to be able to program what I'm thinking and send that to a drummer buddy and be like, this is kind of what I'm going for, throw the flourishes in, do whatever the fuck you want. Zachary Anderson says, didn't they do Winamp?
I think that might be it. I'm going to
may very well be.
I have my phone. My phone is connected to the biggest database in the world. What did the creators of, actually, I'm just going to.
Dude, you use internet?
What did the creators of Reaper originally create? I bet you I'm gonna have to go. Google, give me all the boobs in the world. Okay, you know what? I'll figure this. I'll have to do a bit more in depth. That I need better keywords for that one. But no, exactly. And what I like, what you said, what I love is that now people have the ability to get the idea out of their head to their bandmates or the people they're trying to show the idea to, without feeling limited by their own playability. Like, I am an okay drummer, but my fills are not the best in the world. I can't blast worth shit. But thanks to having Get Good Drums, doesn't fucking matter. I can program them to get the idea out. And then in some cases, if I need to, I can work on that and make it sound as human as possible so that it's album ready. Or if I have the money and I know someone who can, I can get a drummer to go and do it for me and actually have them perform it and actually like be able to articulate, oh, this is what your idea was. And then they can change it up based off like what they're feeling, but they have a better idea of what the composition was sounding like as it was being laid out. Because a lot of people will constantly be like, okay, so I wrote this riff and I'm thinking like maybe if the drums did a da 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 and the bass was doing a ba da da. It's really hard to transcribe those vocal things out quickly in a way that everyone understands. It'll be 5-10 minutes of being like, no, I meant like a ba da da, not a da 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 da. Back and forth. Someone mocking the vocalist for trying to speak music when they're not playing an instrument. Which, come on, guys, that's foolish. The vocalist can hit notes. They can mimic your instruments. Come on.
And
that mic's
heavy. The words that they use often, like when they go like, your job as the drummer is to figure out what the fuck that is.
Yeah, what's the pulse of that?
And yeah, exactly. Like, so Bodies of Everest, we do a lot of that. We the drummer Reno will play. He'll be like, I just want to go like, and and referring to like a guitar line or a bass line or whatever. And like we try and figure that shit out because those are usually gems. Now, obviously, these days we're doing it all with from home, and he can program a MIDI sound or whatever. But even actually, now that I think about it, when we were doing, it says Googling on a live stream, Nate, really, ha ha ha, that was from Zachary. And then he says, Mr. Frankel did invent Winamp as well as peer-to-peer file sharing project called Nutella, which was sold to AOL. I remember Nutella. GNU, as in the nerd GNU reference, which I can't think of for the life of me what it means now. But
hey, we always try to fact check when we can here. Sometimes it's not easy to
we're
find
all
the
about
source.
We may be yammering, but we're yammering with the truth, Jesus.
You know it.
Yeah. But anyways, what I was saying is, like when we were recording, we did this thing where we had a challenge within the band, Bodies of Everest, and so Reno gave us like 4 different drum lines that were same time signature, same kind of vibe, very like 80s rock and roll-y kind of vibe, like really not what we sound like. And it was a challenge. It was like, okay, put these in whatever order you want, make a song, write your parts. And I was like, that's fucking sick. Okay, I can do this. And I listened to the drums and I was like, oh yeah, I've placed all these things in. I was like, that's a good drum line. I'm so happy with this. And I grabbed my bass and I was like, I don't have a fucking clue what I'm going to do like melodically here. So I ended up, because I can't go to the guitar player because he's going through the same shit, right?
Yeah.
So I grabbed my eldest daughter left a keyboard at my house, and I have what might be colloquially referred to as remedial piano skills. I took piano like in elementary school. So I was like, okay, I want to do some cool sounding chords. I want to do like, it's going to be really somber sounding. So I figured out like, low range chords, and just like, I would hit one of them and I would make sure that it was recording, and then I would hit the next one and I would just copy and paste them all over the place. And it gave me something to ground my bass line. And like, this is all shit that, 20 years ago, I'd have been like, yep, can't do it. Now, as a person with all the access to technology, we can, and that's cool. Sorry, go ahead.
That is no. Just to build off that, like, can you imagine if the situation we're in right now would have happened at the height of the thrash era in the mid '80s?
Oh yeah,
like so much shit like would have happened. Like the '90s would have been completely different musically because they wouldn't have had a point to rebel against everything. And who could say what the state of music would be, because they didn't have that level of communication. That era completely relied on tape trading, and like back in the metal days for that. So it's amazing how much power we have at our fingertips to be able to express ourselves. And it's actually a very grateful time. Like to think that I can't remember what I was watching. I think it was Rick Beato and Chris Jericho were having a talk. Beato's a music producer. He's worked on a bunch of stuff in the past, but they were talking about how music was in the decline. And then Beato brought up how Chris Jericho,
Jericho, like Y2J,
like Fozzy, Y2J,
Jericho,
Le Champion, drink it in, man.
Yep. The Ayatollah of rock and roll.
Oh man, the list of 1,001 holds. The list of 1,001 holds. But yeah, they were talking, and what's amazing is in the pandemic, guitar sales are up. More musical instruments are shifting during this time. More people are focusing on things, and it's very intriguing for me to kind of see. Like, I'm curious what the next stage of all this is going to be. Like, I am worried about the state of live entertainment, but I think something in the industry has needed a shift for a long time. For me, not having the accessibility to all ages venues as the norm and not the exception, if you know what I mean, like having it so that, sure, you have the occasional big show that's maybe 18 plus, but 90% of the shows are all ages. That's partially why we don't have a lot of young people in it anymore, because the past decade, that has not been a thing. So maybe that's something we need to figure out. Maybe the basement show and the garage show is going to come back, and we're going to unfortunately see some venues struggle, but maybe that'll help bring a resurgence of something better after. I don't know. I can't predict what's going to happen, but I am very intrigued on what everything is going to be like once the floodgates are opened again, because there's going to be a bunch of people who have been itching for that stage, and a bunch of people that were starting with tools that maybe before they had known they had the accessibility to, but prior to now didn't have the time. And I think a great example of that is our buddy Swan. For years and years, I had been like telling him, dude, just get an interface, just get a computer. Like, you stop using the Guitar Pro file I gave you 6 years ago to write everything, and like start playing. You're a good musician. Use the tools you can. And then just couldn't get to it, couldn't find the time to it. And now the pandemic strikes. I helped him set up his interface, get Reaper set up for him. He got his his chain for his drums ready, so he can just kind of go and program and have fun and not worry about all the tech stuff that he doesn't want to deal with. And then here we are 10 months later, and he's asking me engineering questions. Like, where should I be looking for EQ? Where should I be looking for this? How do I make these work together? And that's exciting. Seeing more people take initiative in their art, I think, is really cool. And I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I'm more excited than I am scared for the musical future of everything.
I'm actually, I'm in the midst of doing like a one of these, but just by myself, foaming at the mouth. And I downloaded and paid for video editing software. So I'm wanting to go kind of, as all out as a guy who's new to this can go. But it's about the concept of, why we need to support venues right now, and including all ages venues. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that I can say, and spoiler alert for the thing I'm going to release, but the biggest thing I can say is venues have security staff that know how to be security staff in a venue. And a kid's party in his parents' basement, like, I get it, but that's not going to have that security staff. It's not going to be safe for the kids who are there. I would so much rather like a place like the New Black or the Multi from back, when I was getting into the world. These are venues that are fully aware of what's going to happen and fully prepared to just provide not the like draconian, like, you must follow the rules, young man, no, but more that like, hey, don't punch the fucking wall. You know better than that. Come on now, we'll go back in the pit. Punch a friend.
Yeah, that's what we need. And that's where, like, I get the hardcore wave and the deathcore wave of the late 2010s was very scary for everyone. That was like, I remember I went to Warped Tour in 2012, and it was in Seattle, and I saw Miss May I. They opened with Relentless Chaos, and there's a circle pit going. And my initial thought was, I'm going to join that circle pit. Then I looked in the center of it, and there was 30 hardcore dancers going at it. And I realized, I'm Canadian in the States. I don't have health insurance here. I'm getting to the fucking front right now. And like, I get that like those two mentalities, they didn't really jive for a while. And there was one that my opinion was more destructive than the other, just because that was kind of what that attitude was about for a brief point in time. But there is a hybrid of all this that can be found and allow expression to happen without people getting clocked. And like, I remember my worst experience with that was actually in 2010. And this was my first experience with being on the floor for a major show. I went to Edmonton and I saw Atreyu headlining with Bless the Fall, Chiodos, and Architects. And Architects opened with Early Grave. Good lineup. Oh yeah, and Architects opened with Early Grave, and this is what began my love for Architects. Like, seeing them live, going in, because I love Atreyu. That's why I was there. I was like, I'm seeing this band, like, because I don't think they're going to make it past this record. I had a feeling that it was going to take them another 6 years to release something if they were able to do anything, because record labels were not good to them at that time. And so I was like, I'm taking my chance seeing them. And then Architects opened, and I was stuck in the all ages part because my roommate forgot his ID. So stick together, stick with your bros, don't separate, be a dick. You come together, you leave together. And there's this dude that's just kind of jiving around. And then next thing I know, he's on the ground bleeding, and his buddy in this white shirt has blood on his elbow and his white shirt, and he's like, I don't know what happened, man. I'm like, you fucking threw wild elbows in an exchanged place and clocked this dude. But then to boot, this skinny little girl, like, I can't swear, she couldn't have been bigger, taller than 5'4" or 5'5", and couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds. She tries to start a mosh pit on top of this dude while the paramedics are trying to pick him up. And it's like that type of yeah, and so it's like that type of mentality, the one of like, I'm gonna throw elbows when I know there are people within close proximity where if I get them, boom, headshot. Plus, I don't care about anyone else. This is my space. I'm doing this for me. Fuck everyone else. That shit's got to go away. You're allowed to express yourself, but there's also be aware of your surroundings. Like, no one's saying don't go hard in a pit, don't go hard at a breakdown, but breaking your friend's face, not necessarily the way you want to leave the show. I don't know. Like, for me, that would leave a sour taste in my mouth looking back and being like, yeah, that show is awesome. Except, I watched a kid almost die during the first song. And then I spent the rest of the gig making sure he was on the rail with me and my roommate because I was really astonished that he was back on the floor.
Yep. I totally know what you mean, man. Interestingly, like the hardcore mosh pit thing, I was not a fan. I thoroughly was like, that is the stupidest shit. The first time I saw it, I was like, they're going to kill a motherfucker. What the hell? And they almost did because no one else knew what was happening. And it was just like 6 or 7 kids at a Nikola Tesla show throwing fucking spin kicks. Like, what are you fucking doing? Yeah, like,
oh, man.
And I was like, you're fucking insane. Like, that's not how you mosh. But of course, that's the old man in me. All right, when I was a boy, we used to mosh with politeness. God damn it. And then I ended up, and I didn't have a good taste for it for like most of my adult life. And then I wound up having to bounce for the Western Hardcore Festival, Western Front Hardcore Festival, whatever it was. And I developed an appreciation for it because when you have, and this is the key, is when you have a crowd that knows what the story is and knows what's up, that was a safe pit. And I saw like old school punk rockers getting angry about the way things were going down. I was like, just fucking chill out and watch. Just watch. Because they have that, they're like dubstep kids. They have their space that they're in and they're doing their thing. And like when they're moving, they're aware of their environment. Like I was kind of surprised by that, honestly. It's still not something I'm going to do, but
I partake in it from time to time, but just because like it's like a form of dance. Like I like pushing people around, but there's those moments where that breakdown group just comes in and you're like, I don't want to push people around, but I got to move in some way. Like this just bumps too goddamn hard for me to just stand still and hit my head. But even with that, like you'll notice the ones that do go full out with the crazy shit that are respectful, you notice that there are cues to what they are going to do before they do it. If they need to make sure they have space, you'll notice that instead of being confined, they'll do a few swings where they're like slowly being like, hey, everyone, get the fuck out of the way. I need to do something right now. This is my warning. The next 6 feet around me is a no-go. And it's no different than really being on stage. Like when I was playing in Oath and I used that boat paddle of a bass. Everyone who's seen us play knows that I move like a motherfucker. And with that, anywhere where this thing can go, stay the hell away. I'm going to try not to hit you, but if you end up somewhere where you should not be, I am sorry for what happens next. And the amount of times I accidentally hit Pete. Yeah, I did. And the amount of times I've accidentally hit Zach or hit Pete just because they'd come close and I would be one way and they'd be like, I'm going to sneak up on him. And I'd be like, why did you do that?
Turns out that was a bad idea,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I personally, I think what you were talking about with the sort of setup stuff, I think that's a language of hardcore mosh pits that is just, it's a different language than what we did. Mm-hmm. And I think that this, probably the early pogo kids that were like just bouncing up and down, like, yay, I'm enjoying the music. I'm enjoying the music. Cool. And then somebody started throwing throwing elbows, but at like, body level or whatever.
Yeah.
I guarantee it was the same kind of change in perspective and stuff. And I think that's what's really cool about. Oh my God, I have like the Facebook Live above my phone right now, and I just saw me bouncing like that. I'm like, oh my God, COVID has not been kind to me. I put on some pounds, man. Speaking of which, I'm gonna grab a beer, talk about something real quick, and I'll be right back.
I shall.
I can still hear you.
Perfect. I think what's really cool, like you were saying, with it's an evolution, and like you said, it's a lot easier. And I think this is something that comes across the board. I know you probably came to terms with it. I always have to. Like, I'm still young when it comes down to terms of it, but things constantly need to evolve. Just because something was done a certain way before does not mean that is how it has to be done in the future. And to go from 100%. To go from one to the other, it's not a straight line. It's a squiggly of a bunch of weird fucked up shit that's going to happen. Some shit's going to stick, some shit's going to not. And what I like about now is versus in the 2010s, for instance, where the hardcore scene was getting a lot more vibrant, especially with bands like Fall City Fall from good old YYC. It was foreign to a lot of people because the punk and metalcore scene, or the punk and hardcore scene, it hadn't fallen off, but it had become its own small little niche. And then out of nowhere, it blew up out of nowhere. Like, it was just the flavor that everyone was after, and there were bands that were doing wicked with it. And then all the videos were coming of all like these weird pits and people not being able to respond to it, and then people going to shows and seeing these young kids coming into their scene playing this different kind of music that's not like the music I was playing. And instead of being like receptive and being like, oh, that's just how shit evolves. Like when Metallica started, did they say we're going to be a thrash metal band? No, they're like, I like what Iron Maiden's doing. I like what Diamond Head's doing. I like what Merciful Fate's doing. I like what all these bands are doing. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do, but I want to do a combination of all that shit, except a bit faster and with a bit more attitude and grit. And hence thrash metal was born. Like, yes, probably there were gatekeepers back then too, but like things need to evolve for things to be recognized. And I get we're in an era where it seems like everything's been done, but now it's a matter of like, how well can people do these different things? How well can you take your influences and make something? And the other, how well can you be receptive to new things when they come at you? Will you be the guy standing in the corner with your arms crossed? Yeah, this isn't what I wanted. Why would it? This didn't come out in '89. I don't want it. I don't want it.
When we were kids, we were in the mosh pit with an onion tied to our belt, which was the style at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree. And like I'm an old man. I'm almost 50. I'm like almost. Like, I'm trying really hard to not say I'm almost 50, but I'm almost 50.
I would have taken you for almost 40.
Oh, you're a good boy. But look, lines and wrinkles. But yeah, like in my many years, I've seen all kinds of new music, and my reaction has always been, even if I don't understand it, like hardcore music, I didn't understand the pits, but I was like, dude, it slams. There's good sound happening. And when I hear something that I don't understand, like the first time I listened to Ray's
Bastard Daughter?
The song about the fucking juice pig.
Fucking Smash.
Fucking Smash. The first time I heard it, I was like, I don't get this at all, but this is so good. I don't even know what I'm listening to, but I don't have to know what I'm listening to because this is just fun. And I mean, part of me was like that the first time I played it, I was like, oh, that poor man. And then I read more about it, and I was like, oh, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy hard in his mouth.
Oh, yep. And that's actually with that too. Like, I've never been huge into EDM, and this is where I'll like admit to a past elitist phase where in that late 2000s era, though I was like more so getting into like Swedish melodic metalcore, gen prog, all that shit. I was also heavily against anything that was coming on in the fucking club, like whatsoever. This rage of like DJs playing on keyboards, they're not even playing fucking shit. They're just taking shit and slicing it, blah blah blah. Fuck Skrillex. Fuck.
I've got an iPad. Look,
I pressed play on my iPad. I'm a rock star.
Yeah.
I totally did that too.
Yeah. And like, granted, like it's still not my thing. And I had a bit of respect for it before Ray moved in. Like I could appreciate it for what it was. I still was like, I'm not going to go to a show. I'm not going to go to a rave. It's not my thing. I'm not going to put it on the background. I'm probably never going to listen to any of these artists. The last one I checked out was Bass Nectar, and he was cool, but past that, I'm just not into it. And then hearing Ray again develop and grow, and hearing like when she gets excited and talks about things that she's learned in her realm, and it's all kind of related to what I do as an engineer, but also its own fucking thing completely. Like it's still like it's hearing, it's like if I'm from old English and Ray's modern English, like I can understand some things you're saying, but what are these weird phrases you're using? What do ye not to understand how to talk, good sir? And it's amazing to understand the art.
I went through my own so in the second distillery. I don't know if you probably, the distilleries were before you were in the Calgary scene. So they were owned by the same people as Distortion plus Philly Roach. And there were 3 different bars over the course of a decade-ish. And they were very much like a Vern's or whatever. They were our home. And the second distillery was this great, big, huge, amazing room, which has now been destroyed because that's what we do. We pave over good things. But it was this gorgeous, huge room that was like historic. It was the first live music venue in Calgary from like 100 years ago, kind of like amazing space. And it had the sound dome over top. So the best part about that was you'd like the band would stop between songs and you'd hear some guy like, the entire bar we hear that one guy go, yeah, your sister's kind of cute. But anyway, so it's a room that fits 600 people and 800 if they were sweaty and smelled like Vicks Vapor Rub. And they started doing dubstep shows and EDM shows as a way to bring in money to support costs while, staying true to their live music roots. Yeah. And I bounced a lot of those shows and I fucking hated them. And the music was stupid and the people were stupid. And at the end of the night, it was the worst because all the like super coked out girls would come up like dripping snot out of their nose and they're like, hey, what are you doing later? Not you, you fucking dirty. Like, that's gross.
Yeah.
But D2 did those. D3 did not because it wasn't big enough. And then Distortion did them again. And I started off dreading them. And what I found was, as soon as I got past that, as soon as I figured out that like maybe I'm not the fucking arbiter of what is good music, there is great music in that sphere. And I dated a girl who was big into psytrance, and she sort of turned me on to a whole bunch of really different sounding things. And a guy that is a sort of distant friend of mine, distant as in we've never been in the same room, but we're internet friends. Okay. He's a fan of all this stuff, and he's shared some stuff with me, and what I've come to just really appreciate that it may not be the music I would make, but that doesn't make it bad, which is dumb because I like a lot of music I wouldn't make, but this EDM,
I get exactly what you mean. Like my sister and I, for instance, there's 2 things I want to go in, this one and then I'll segue into the other one because they both touch on the same thing. But the whole like there's stuff I love that I'd probably never play. Like in the mid 2000s, emo is very much at my soul. Like My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, like there's some Silverstein in there, Seosin. Like, oh man, if something comes on from like those mid 2000 records, I'm not gonna change it. I'm just gonna sit there and bask in its glory and be like, yep. But I'm never gonna be able to play that.
Duran Duran. Yep.
Yeah. And like, and I really learned that through like my sister and I were trying to do some stuff together, and it got to a point where like, although we could understand we have some influences that'll coincide, if it's us working together, she wants to go down avenues that I respect her for. I could not personally do on a realm that I would feel would justify and be worth it for her. Like I'd essentially be phoning it in at points, and that's not right. If you're going to do something, you should be invested in it. You should be passionate about it. And you should want to do it. And it should be more than just, I'm doing this so that I can do this. Like you should enjoy the music. that you're invested in and making. That should be the core of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. And and now to the second one, and I really will say my appreciation for being able to quote unquote get over my own elitism in music was really been like investing in listening to like the URM podcast, listening to other people express like their like journeys, and then also then joining that Nail the Mix URM community and really getting to see what goes into the production of these tracks, getting to go through every individual thing and seeing what the vocal production sounds like on its own, seeing what the post effects in the background sound like, and being like, oh, this never thought this would be the case. Like, I'm not oh yeah.
I'm just gonna 1 sec. They're on my bed. Sorry, was talking to my child. Didn't want
all
to
good.
in the middle of your be like, they're on my bed. Yes, they are.
But to go on, but to say, for instance, with like Nail the Mix, like they get a bunch of different stuff, and there's months where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. Like there was a month where, do you remember the month where Aborted had all that stuff happen, where they had like a tour canceled because some chick accused them of something, and then the tour was canceled. They were found out innocent, but they had to deal with like a bunch of backlash for a month and a half.
I don't recall, but that does not sound like a story that's
it was stupid, but it was like in 2018, and I remember that September it was their track, and then their track got pulled because it was just okay, guys, some shit's happening, and just to make sure that we're not in a bad situation, we're not doing Aborted this month. We're gonna do Future Breed Machine by Meshuggah, and I'm like, yes, daddy, please more. And then there's other months where say we have to do, there was a Papa Roach track we did. This month is a combination of and fuck yeah. There's this band Tala, whose vocalist I've been a fan of for like 6 or 7 years. He goes by Hungry Lights on YouTube. I found him through a vocal contest I actually took part of on Jared Dines' channel. And this dude won the whole thing, has a wicked voice, but his band is one of them. So I'm like, ooh, I get to hear Justin's voice soloed and fuck with the production and just see, ooh. And then the other one's this band 810 Kings. And I'm not really a fan of the like down tempo beat down kind of like, I like rap, but it's just the way they kind of go at it. It's just not my shtick. But my goodness, I can appreciate the post-production effects because it really brings up that whole like hip hop element behind everything. That's really cool. And being like, oh, so this is how all that flavor and all that movement's coming in. Although the instrumental end may not seem like it's that much, they're really thinking about like other elements that can work and sway the listener. And doing things like that has really helped me appreciate a lot of bands and a lot of styles that I may, on first glance, may not have even bothered to bat an eye at. And maybe not get new favorites, but gain a whole new appreciation for their art and just like what they do.
I personally, I love those little surprises that you encounter. Like many years ago, I got a phone call from my buddy Therese, and she was running the Noctis Festival.
Okay.
She says, I've got a conference show tonight. It's going to be a drum clinic and a guitar clinic. Can you come down and work the back door at Burns, and you'll get in for free, and I'll buy you a couple beers, kind of thing. And so the drum clinic, as soon as she said Gene Hoglan drum clinic, I was like, yes, I will.
Ooh, yes.
That was amazing. And true story, before the doors opened, I was going to the bathroom. I was taking a piss in the urinal, and Gene Hoglan walks in, and he's like, hey, how's it going, man? And I was like, oh my God, Gene Hoglan is talking to me, and I'm holding my wiener. Oh, like Gene fucking Hoglan, right?
Oh my God.
And then, but the guitar clinic, I'd never heard of this guy. Now I've heard of this guy because he blew my mind. But Tosin from Animals as Leaders.
Bossy.
Yeah, and I just like, he got on stage and he's this sort of, not terribly big, not terribly small, just sort of, very average black guy, and he's got a guitar with like 1 million strings on it. And he's like, okay, so he's very soft spoken, and he starts playing, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
He's so amazing.
Yes, and like I had never heard of Animals as Leaders. I didn't listen to a lot of prog metal. It's funny because Bodies of Everest is like a prog metal band. Like, but you know, at the time, this just wasn't my thing. I don't like Tool terribly much. You know, I like their early stuff, but
I like they have
pretentious.
songs. They have songs that I really
Absolutely.
dig from all their albums, but I've never been someone that's been like, I love all of 10,000 Days or I love all of Lateralis. I'm like, there are moments in there where there is brilliance. Like I will admit there is
Absolutely.
some moments of brilliance, but I'm not a fan of like the filler track. Like, oh, Ions is just a bunch of stuff to replicate this and all that. I'm like, okay, I get it. Maynard's trying to be deep.
Yeah. So when I joined Bodies of Everest, they were like, "What kind of prog metal do you listen to?" And I was like, "Funny story. Hate all of it. Hate all of it." And they got me listening to Carnival and Periphery. Periphery particularly is so good. And so like I am not in that league as a musician, so it's fun to be able to sort of like play dress up bass player and be like, I can play these kinds of music songs. The time shifted and I'm doing it. But it's also really fun and really enjoyable to you know, like take that moment where I was like, this is a brand new thing. I've never even listened to Chosen before and I'm blown away. And over the course of you know, a few years, all of a sudden I'm playing in a band that, you know, isn't Animals as Leaders, but is in that same kind of vibe, and I can draw my own influences from that. I think that's really cool, and I think that's something that like music gives you that not a lot of things do.
It's like a natural feeling of progression, or it's like if we were playing video games, leveling up your skills, or just leveling up in general, and being able to look back and see the progression, being like, oh man, remember the start of this game when we came here and I could only do the one combo, and now I'm just ripping through enemies continually, like, or as like I came from a background of athletics before music, so the best way I'd go about that is like on basketball, finally being able to dunk for the first time, or being able to make consecutive shots and getting used to doing certain things versus the first time you hold a hockey stick, or the first time you hold a ball, or the first time you had a bitten glove, like a glove in ball. You like, it all feels foreign. Very few people feel right at home the first time they grip these things, and when they do, it's like one of those. It's like one of those, like, okay, that was their thing. Like, if you love it, that's awesome. And but for everyone else, they're all skills that we have to learn. And hell, writing, something that we as adults kind of take for granted, if we're being honest. Like every once in a while, it's not often, but I'll try to write with my left hand just for shits and giggles, and it's hilarious.
Yep. I think the other thing that's sort of, you know, tied into that in my mind is like this imposter syndrome that I have, which is self-diagnosed, so it's probably bullshit. But you know, I see a guy like DJ play, and no matter what, my brain insists on the idea that like 2 weeks ago he picked up a guitar for the first time and went, I wonder how these work. And me, I've played music for, you know, all of my adult life, so like 5 years. And don't laugh. Save me this little bit of prestige here.
No, I mean
like,
that's, you know, awesome that your childhood got to last for that long. Like, that's amazing. That just like 5 years of adulthood. That's amazing.
I'm still a fucking child, man. I'm on the internet. My kids, when I was like, you know, when my boys were like 6 and 7, and we still use this as a thing around the house. Seth got like a microphone headset kind of thing, and he was trying to be the YouTube gamer live stream dude. Yeah. So we're like, welcome to the live stream, guys. Okay, so today it's what we're gonna do is we're gonna fucking Jake, stop it, fucking fuck mom. This is like the sound of our childhood. So we still do that. I don't know where the fuck that came from, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was probably pretty cool.
Oh man, we were talking about DJ and the fact that like and it's something that I think we all suffer from. Like, it's like, for me, like I still at times hate the sound of my own voice and still think I'm a shit guitarist, a shit drummer, and that, you know, I hate admitting it, but bass is probably my best instrument, and a part of me, like, having that be the third or fourth thing I learned, it's always like, why did that one have to be the one that I really figured out? Like the one everyone makes fun of. I have a flag in my studio that says bass is lift because of the joke of how dumb bass players are. Why is that the thing I'm good at?
Yes.
But realizing that it takes time, and we're all our own worst critic. And we may not be great, especially at the times of which we're critiquing ourselves, but we can grow past that as long as we can get off our own fucking backs and just be like, okay, cool. What can I do about it?
Totally. Like my journey with the trumpet. You know, I bought my first trumpet was that, I don't know if you've ever seen me play it, but it's this orange plastic trumpet.
Yep.
It's technically called a pit trumpet. And I bought it specifically because like I was at Long and McQuaid. I was buying a bunch of stuff because I'm a fucking idiot, spend money too much and on credit. And they had a plastic trumpet and a plastic trombone. And I was like, I've always wanted to play like some kind of brass instrument, but they're an order of magnitude cheaper. So that trumpet was $130.
Okay.
A starter level trumpet is like $1,300. You probably get cheaper than that, but you know what I mean? Like an order of magnitude cheaper. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm already, when you think about I'm going to pay these off over 11 months, this is pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So I bought them, and I honestly, my first thing, I gravitated towards the trombone because it was a lot easier for me, and you know, like the tightness of the mouth, you don't have to put as much effort in because I'm a big fucking lazy shit. But then, like, you know, I kind of joked a little bit about playing trumpet with Amico Fantasma because I was the bass player, and I was like, you know, you guys are gonna have to eventually find a good enough bass player to take over for this guy, which would not be hard. And then I can play trumpet. And then they found a fucking bass player who's like a jazz bass player who went to university to play jazz bass. And I was like, oh, now it's on. And I probably played for like, if you compressed all the minutes on that stupid orange fucking trumpet, I probably played for 2 hours prior to this in the like 6 months I'd owned the thing. Mm-hmm. And suddenly they were calling my bluff, and I put some work in. And our first show, I was horrible, but I wasn't so horrible that people were like wanting to hurt me. I was like, that's okay. That's all right. I fucking know what I've done to get here. And like the imposter syndrome thing was like, I'll put it to my lips and immediately sound like Miles Davis. But I knew that wasn't the case. And the show we played, that was almost a year to the day after I started playing my trumpet, and I had a proper brass, or not brass, but I guess it's brass, but it's silver plated. I had a proper trumpet, proper mouthpiece, proper whole 9 yards. And that show was, if you were a good trumpeter, it was terrible. But if you didn't know what was up, even if you were a good trumpeter, it was like, that guy's been working.
There's improvement there.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm never going to be Miles Davis because Miles Davis is Miles Davis, and that guy's a fucking superhero. I will try. I will do my best. I love playing it, but I'm never going to be that, and that's okay. I can still get on stage and honk away like a moron.
Exactly. You can get as good as you personally can and enjoy every second of it. Like there's always those moments of practice maybe aren't as enjoyable as playing, but there are those moments where, hello, Shisha, but there are those moments where
hey, Shisha, what's that?
He's like, Daddy, give me attention. But there's those moments where the practice is very gratifying. Like when you finally hit a part, like when I'm like, for myself, like I finally caved and I got a few full covers in after multiple people and different commenters being like, why don't you just use an instrumental without the vocals? And I'm like, because I don't want to like find one or recreate it. Like, if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to recreate it. And I don't have the time. Fine. I'll do 6 of them. I'll find 6 and I'll find people to help and we'll get there when we get there. Leave me alone. But there's something really satisfying about hitting those difficult licks after going from 50% and going through it 3 times before it increases 2 more percent. And then it loops again. And then you finally get up to 90 and you're like, I almost fucking have it. 2 days later, all right, we'll start at 85, build it back up, get to 95. Week later, all right, we're starting at 90. All right, Go through that 2 more times. Got it. All right, let's let's see what happens at full speed. I can do it. Oh, no way. And it's just, and it's that
Preach,
effort.
my brother.
Nothing comes at the start. And that's one thing I'm actually really curious on what your thoughts are going to be on it, because I'll send you it before everyone else gets it. But this new EP versus the old one, because it's very, I can't remember. Were you at the only show we've ever played in Calgary when we were Deadlights? I feel like you were at that show.
Yeah, it was at the whatever the fucking the Brass Monkey or the
Brass
Monkey or the whatever. Yeah. I was there. I fucking loved it.
And it was awesome. That was a really fun show.
You sent me stuff in advance again for that. I'm pretty sure, and I was fucking ready.
That's right. I sent you jam sessions. That's right. You're like, so how do you guys sound like? I'm like, well, I recorded our most recent jam. Like, it's not that tight, but here you go. But what I really like.
And the funny thing about that is, I was only asking out of like, okay, so I want to hype your band, and I know it's going to be amazing. So I'll just fucking like make up words or whatever. Like, just give me a vibe, so I don't be like, oh yeah, they're like a straight up street oi punk, and then get it completely wrong, which I have done. Sorry to the I can't remember something. Is Don Patamore's band. Anyways, I heard one half of a track and I was like, you're in a rush, and I was like, they're an oi band. They're like a street punk band. They're like a fucking rockabilly band with one track that kind of has some Anyway, so it was like, what do you sound like? Just give me a hint so I can be like, oh my god, these guys are thrash masters. And you sent me like the entire thing, and I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna fucking listen. And I put it on. I was like, oh my god, this is so good.
That makes me happy, because like for me, the first bit of like, I'll lean to the other thing after because this will build into it. But like the first thing with that was really trying to get out of the idea of like, I'm only good as a bassist, because prior to Oath, like my main thing was like, I was generally always either the guitarist and like I shared major vocals, or I was just the front man. So like when I joined Oath, it was very much like, I'm taking a back seat. I'm gonna fill my role, do my job. I'm not the front man, but I can do different things to bring attention to myself and not overshadow everything else. Let's see what we can do. And then versus then going into Deadlights, now No Hope for the Lost, and be like, okay, I want to show the people that haven't seen me do these things, show them that I can do these things. Like, show them that I can be more than just this energetic backpiece. Like, I want to show that I can front something, that I can play guitar, that I can do these vocals. And what's cool is going into that is the past little while with the band, like going through our member changes and our transitions, I'm no longer playing guitar. Like, I'm writing some riffs here and there, but I'm now instrumentless. I just have my mic, and it's really cool being able to expand on that aspect and like throw ideas off Ray, write tracks, see how she expands on it, and be like, wow, that's cool how you turned my little bullshit thing into something that's way better. Thank you. Oh, I can still play bass to that. Cool. I'm useful still on instruments somehow. Nice.
Look at me.
But just last week, like this EP, I feel like the greatest strength on it is I showed how diverse of a vocalist I can be. The downfall is I definitely don't give myself place to breathe, because I was definitely thinking of like, I want the vocals to fit the tracks, want everything to work really well, sound as good as it can. And then Ray and I had our first like, okay, let's jam to the backing track, see how we're going. Had that a week ago. First time we've done that in a while. And we realized, oh, wow. Yeah. Even if we want to live stream, we got some work to do. Like, I'm like, I gotta figure out which words I need to give to you so that you can save me and I can have a breath. I need to work on my overall ability to maintain stamina and, just work on that endurance again and that live show perception, because it is a completely different beast. Like, being able to play live is way different than just sitting behind the desk and being like, okay, I have an idea. I got a microphone. Let's get it out. Let's make it sound as good as possible. Yeah. All right. Now I can take a 5-minute break and get things figured out. And now I'm back at it. Versus live is high energy all the time. And you can miss occasionally, but you got to be on at least 90% of the time.
Absolutely. There's a body of Everest song that we're working on right now. And it's mostly, actually, it's probably not mostly anything, but We call it 11sies because we haven't got a title for it yet, but it's in mostly 11/8 time.
Okay.
And there's a section where, so the bass is 11/8, so it's going like do, 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 which is fine. And then there's a section where the drums go 4/4, and the bass stays 11/8. And after 11 bars, we meet back up again, and we go into the chorus. As a guy who, like, you know, I grew up, my early days playing punk rock bass was punk rock bass. There's four things that happen every time that we do a fourth things. That was my understanding of the world. And now
These go a
I'm
certain
doing,
way.
yeah, exactly. And now I'm doing that 11 weird pattern that's almost 12/12. And that's almost why it's like the harder thing, because if it was 12/12, fine, it fits ish. But 11 is so fucking close to 12 that it's easy to fuck up. Yep. So and I got to a point where, like, in the beginning, I eventually, like, literally, I turned off the volume in my ears, and I just did, knowing what the rhythm was, I just turned everything off and did, like, the most basic, like 1 1 1 1 1 1, and then I listened to that a bunch and internalized it, got to that place, and I was like, okay, now I can do this, and built on it. And now when I'm playing along with this drum track, because of course we can't play in human space, when I'm playing along to this drum track, dumb, broken, old, shitty bass player me is playing 11/8 over top of a 4/4 drum pattern and fucking nailing it. And it's that whole thing of, like, this don't come easy and it don't come quick, but we put the work in, we fucking get there. And
that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Oh man, the first time I did it, I was like, because the way that I know, every fucking time I play this song, it goes like do 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 do, and then the chorus starts, and it has to start on like do 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 do, and it's like, oh, perfect. And I've never nailed it, and I'm always fucking furious at myself. And then I'm playing it, and I was like, I did it. I did it. I did it. And it was like the most fucking, like, no one cares but me. But oh my God, was it ever a fucking brilliant moment?
Oh man, that's awesome. That's a testament to, like, just what this is all about. Like, this is why music is fun. You're always learning something new, no matter what instrument you're on, whatever part of the industry you're in or a part of, whether it's, like, again, like engineering, pedal making, sample making, being a musician, playing any of these different instruments, being a coach. Every interaction teaches you something different, like, depending on what scenario you're in, and it grows your arsenal and your repertoire of things that you can do or understand within the realm of music. And I don't know why this fascinated me so much. Like, I've always known that Mozart went deaf by, like, a very early age. But just amazing to, like, actually think of, like,
Beethoven. It was Beethoven.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Both Mozart and Beethoven went deaf, I think. Because I was thinking Mozart didn't he?
Mozart I think he got the syphilis, but I don't think he went deaf.
Okay, because I am trying to remember, because I was watching a breakdown on Asmodeus, the film, which was then breaking down the play, which is then breaking down the falsities and the truths of what actually happened during that period between Wolfgang. And I could have swore it was Mozart, but I could be wrong. Regardless, whichever classical one it was.
I also could be wrong.
Yeah,
I know I looked it, but I was not there.
Yeah, but apparently they had gone through, like, there was a letter that had surfaced that he had sent his, I want to say it was his not his aunt, and it was him basically, like, not woe is me, but being extremely angry that he had perfect pitch apparently, but that he was no longer able to hear things in the way other people's were. If someone was playing a trumpet in the background and someone mentioned it, he wasn't hearing a damn thing. And it's really curious about realizing that there's the point before he went almost completely deaf, and the point where he was deaf, and how the registries and what his music had completely changed. There was the Moonlight Sonata, that really dark, like do 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 do. Played Resident Evil earlier, and I love the fact that that was in there. I was like, oh yes, but the fact that that's a very low register. And that's because, like, at that point in time, he could only hear that low end. Like, all of his high end hearing was gone by the age of 30. He had the hearing of like an 80-year-old. But the moment it was gone completely, because he understood mentally how music could sound and he was able to piece it together, all of his music just opened up in the high spectrum again in his later compositions, because he wasn't restricted to what he was hearing. He was just letting what he had in his mind flow on the page. And I know that's a skill that very few people have, because that, like, the ability to write down sheet music and interpret like an entire orchestra is ridiculous. But just the fact that what many of us would consider a huge limitation, losing the ability to hear everything, within his writing, you kind of slowly heard it hinder him. And then when it was gone, it opened up the world again, because it was no longer a focus. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think if we stop focusing on our limitations, to just go, okay, how do I work past that? I can't do this. Well, if I can't do this, why not this? I think it makes our experiences a lot easier, I find. Because a lot of this for musicians, I think, as creatives, is, like you said, getting down on yourself and your skills. And it's no fun. Have fun.
It's bullshit. So when I was in high school, 80 years ago, there was this program at the University of Calgary called Jazz Camp. And my mom was actually a University of Calgary music student at the time, so I knew about all this stuff. And it was a summer program, and you would go and live in residence at the U of C for a week. And you would wake up, and you would, like, eat breakfast, and you would go and do, like, jazz, 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 jazz. Lunchtime, jazz, 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 jazz. Supper, jazz, jazz, jazz. It was fucking amazing.
That's a lot of jazz. I was in the
vocal jazz program. It's so much jazz, but it was so good. And different stuff. Like, we learned, we had to practice improvisation, which I totally was not good at. Scoot up, shoot up, eat up, the boot up. I'm loving it. All that shit, like that was a big part of it. And we would, like, there was an orchestral part, and then there was a choir part. I was in the choir part because I, sucked at everything else. And but there was this girl, Marley. She was from somewhere in BC, I think Cranbrook for some reason, but I'm not sure. And, like, I saw her from across the room and was like, melt. And then I found out that she's there. She plays trombone, and she's stone fucking deaf. And I was like, wait, what? And she played by feeling the vibration. She loved the sensation of the vibration, and could feel the vibration of the room and how the vibration of her instrument matched that. And I was like, that is the coolest shit I have ever known, which only made her more hot and completely unattainable for me, because I was also a chud boy. But yeah, man, I am blown away by stories like anyone that, when their hearing fails and they're a musician and they can continue to do stuff. This girl who could play music and not hear it but feel it, like, that's fucking cool. And when I play bass, like, on stage, it is the closest I can get to that feeling, because I may not be right, I may not be hitting all the right notes, but I have that moment, that transcendent moment, where I lose myself in what I'm doing. I'm getting there with trumpet. I'm slowly getting there, and it is the most beautiful experience. I'm sure you can relate.
Definitely can. That's when you feel truly proficient. You may not feel like you're the best. There might be a few things you have to learn, but you feel like in a situation you can fall into it and just experience it. Like, it's weird to say, but the amount of shows where the moment that first 4 count came and the last breakdown hit, wow, a half hour to 40 minutes can feel like 5 seconds. But it can also feel like 5 years, depending on, like, how you're interpreting it. And both of them can be very good. the
Totally.
time you're taking to play it can feel like 5 years or like 5 hours, and then the moment you're done and you snap back into it, it can be like that actually felt like only like 5 seconds. Like, what's with this weird fluctuation of time? And we didn't play the entire set, did we? We're already on the road home. Okay, cool.
I don't remember what movie this was from, but there was some movie that I saw years ago, and yeah, I'm struggling to think of it, and I won't get the exact quote right, but you know, some guy is asked about the theory of relativity, and he's a black guy, and he's like, you know, time when you're taking a test or something like that, you know, like seems to last forever, but that time when you're kissing a girl and you just have that moment lasts a lifetime. And whoever it was like, I've never heard relativity expressed in such a beautiful and poetic way. That is totally how stage time feels. Even
100%.
bad sets, bad sets are still transcendent. Like I've had times where I've come off stage and been like, I'm the worst, but also that was amazing.
my favorite is when you come off stage thinking you're the worst, and everyone comes out being like, dude, that was the best set I've ever seen you play. And you're like, were we a part of the same thing? Like, because I could have swore I done goofed like the entire time. They're like, no. And that perspective again of like when we are and aren't inside of our own heads, and it's amazing how quickly that can shift.
And how pardon me, it's so easy to poison our own perspective, and to like get hung up on the little things we did wrong that only we're going to notice. And I've told this story before on Yammers, but my mom was she was a music student at university when I was a kid, and she was also an active part of the church choir. Voice was her instrument.
Okay.
And she did a solo in our church, and she mentioned to some of the girls she was going to school with, and one of them came and, you know, out to support kind of thing. And my mom sang her solo, and I happened to be there afterwards because, you know, I'm a little fucking snot-nosed kid, and I ran up, mommy, mommy, mommy. And the woman came up and said something to the effect of like that, you know, that was brilliant. What a great job. And my mom goes, you know, well, to be fair, like the tremolo part was a little bit off, and you know, the slide into the second verse was, you know, felt forced. And the woman looked at her and was like, Carol, fuck your face. She didn't say that, but, you know, I like to tell the story my way. But you know, like, fuck your face. I know what good music is. I know what's awesome and what I can enjoy, and I enjoyed that. So, are you telling me I have bad taste?
Yeah.
And my mom like sort of shrank a little bit, and I was like, "That girl's a bitch." I didn't say that either because, you know, like a kid, I got killed. But it was an important thing, and I remember talking with my mom afterwards about it, and she's like, "No, she's right. You know, I'm looking at this from my perspective and beating myself up, and this other person who is not a dummy, who knows music, saw my performance and was happy and moved with it. And I think maybe I owe her an apology."
Yep. No, it's all that matters is that it makes a connection. That's really all of it. That's
Totally.
That's why I played with Oath for as long as I did. Like at first it was just like, I want to get out, I want to play the scene. These guys seem pretty cool. Let's do it. But after a while I was like, people are actually connecting with this. Like, I personally may not be 100% a fan of everything we're doing, but it's damn cool to see people react that way to that music.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see that. And that's what one thing I love about music is that's what it's about in the end. That's why we post our stuff online right now when there's no shows happening, is we want people to see and engage and possibly be moved by our art because it moved us enough to want to create it.
Totally. That is the core of it is it's not a narcissistic, like, everyone needs to love me. Like even like these yammers, my whole thinking was not like, boy, people will sure be interested to see the conversations I get to have. It was, people are fucking tired and bored and lonely and miserable and feeling disconnected. And if I can have a conversation with a buddy of mine and we connect and we have an interesting conversation, and maybe people will watch, maybe they'll, enjoy the comments and call us idiots or whatever, point out that it was in fact Winamp that they were inventing, and
Yep.
that was awesome. But, like maybe people will want to see this, even if it's fucking like something that no one would ever want to watch on a regular day. Maybe today's the day because it's fucking COVID and we're bored and we're stuck. And music is the same. Like maybe not everyone's gonna like this song. Maybe my parents are gonna fucking hate it, but someone out there is gonna listen to this song, and I want to hear it from that guy's ears. I want to experience it from his experience.
It's why people cheer for sports teams. It's why people cheer for certain athletes. It's why people connect with certain wrestlers. It's why some people watch wrestling and some people think it's just a joke and would prefer to just watch MMA. There are different aspects of this expressionist form of art. And that's like all of these, like whether it's painting, whether it's athletics, like it's all some form of art. Like you have to be pretty artistically inclined to know how to move your body to do a front flip off a 20-foot ladder and land on your opponent in a way that doesn't hurt him or you, but looks like it destroyed both of you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, I used to watch wrestling religiously, and people would be like, it's fake, right? And I'm like, yeah.
It's the in-ring storytelling. It's the psychology.
And it's this incredible kinetic dancing thing that these incredibly trained professionals are doing. Like, do you know that ballet is not, that woman is not really the swan?
Did you know that nothing in Fast and Furious is actually fast or furious?
Yeah, except of course,
except for Vin Diesel.
The Rocket Coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, Vin got the fury.
Yeah, no, they're both going to bring the fury.
We suspend disbelief, and it's not about it doesn't have to be real to be completely enjoyable. And if you're at home right now watching this and thinking wrestling is stupid and we're dumb for liking it,
yeah, straight up, I got 2 words for you: suck it.
Yep.
Like, because if you're going to tell me that it is childish to be happy that my favorite wrestler not only came back at the Rumble last year, but went in at number 1, won the fucking thing, is going to headline Mania after having a life-altering like injury happen, and that career should have been done for. Like, I'm sorry, I'm smitten as a fucking kitten right now. I don't care who Edge faces. The fact that I get to watch someone who loves what they did, had it taken away from them at the height of their career, and now they're back during COVID of all fucking times. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take the small victory.
And you know what? 100%. Like, I was an Edge fan for ages. I loved him. I thought he had charisma. I thought he had incredible athleticism. And to see him, grow and become the athlete that he became was amazing. And I thought his career was done.
I did too.
I was like, oh, okay. And that's, I had moved on from regularly watching wrestling, but I still pay attention. I still care. Yeah. And I saw, I think it was Carlin that mentioned that Edge won the Royal Rumble, and I was like, "You're fucking kidding me! Oh my god, that is the greatest thing of all time."
Oh, and the fact that I'm excited, for any of the 3 matches that it could possibly be, like even the one that I'm least excited for, I'm still excited for. I would love to see Spear versus Spear with Roman versus Edge for the Universal belt. I'd love to see Drew and Edge go at it. In all these situations, I want Edge to go over because I do want Edge to be a champion for a while and really uplift this roster that's there because I think he can do it. He's stated he's not going to be a Lesnar guy. He's going to be there. If he's the champion or if he's fighting for the title, he's there. Like, he's not taking this time for granted. He's fully invested, which is, I think, the most important fact of all. The fact that he is passionate enough to be like, no, I'm invested in making this happen. So him versus Drew could be awesome. But the fact that we're here in 2021 and I could possibly see Finn Balor versus Edge for the NXT title. Oh, please just give me that one. I know it's not like the big boy belt, but like, oh, that's the match I want to see.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? I literally just, as you're talking and your enthusiasm about Edge, all I could think was, you think you know me?
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, man.
That was the entrance that I used to fucking blow up when Edge would get on the ramp and just fucking, or Edge and Christian back in the day.
The fact that Christian came back at the Rumble too. They had an Edge and Christian like reunion in the tail end of the Rumble. Christian's back. Yeah. Like, it was wonderful. And apparently the way they panned it was they didn't know they were going to get a shot of Edge reacting to it, but Edge tried to make it so that he could like watch his buddy come back. And the look on his face while he's watching Christian come down, and the look on Christian's face is like, I don't care if we didn't have fans. Like, there were moments this year at the Rumble that I am so happy we got. And the fact that Christian might be back for a few for a mini run too. Like, the fact we got them back. Like, who can say
that's fucking
they
awesome.
would have thought that would have happened?
That may very well be the thing that makes me have to pay attention to the WWE again.
Yeah.
And and when I say that, it's not that I'm like, oh, Finn Balor, he's no Triple H, anything like that. It's simply like I've been so busy that I haven't paid attention in a lot of years, and it just sort of slipped off my radar. But I'll always love wrestling.
I'll always love,
especially the Rumble.
Check out AEW if you haven't. I love what Tony Khan's doing right now with the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes. The fact that Sting's there, Matt Hardy.
Like, Sticking Matt Hardy, that's the worst match ever.
Oh my god!
The one where Matt Hardy. Oh no, it was Jeff Hardy. Sorry, where Jeff is just fucking clocked on the.
Oh, him and Sting. Oh, him and the victory that infamous Victory Road match where Bischoff has to call an audible in the middle of the ring, just like Sting, just Scorpion Death drop him and end it. This was supposed to be the one where we propelled you. But speaking of Jeff, how far has he fucking come? Like, the fact that he was running as the top guy, lost it all because he couldn't control his shit, and like, he had a lot of shit at that point. Like, he lost his house, he lost his dog, he was having a bad time. And the fact that here we are in 2016, he and Matt had arguably the biggest pop in recent Manias when they showed up in that tag team ladder match. Like, that was huge. And the fact that, he's clean. He's still actively wrestling for WWE. Let's be honest, in 2010 or any time prior to 2016, none of us thought was going to happen again, especially after that Victory Road match. I'm a huge Jeff fan. He's in my top 5, but I never thought we'd see him back in WWE. And the fact that we kind of got Matt on AEW and Jeff on WWE, like, it's awesome. We got the Hardys like helping foster the next generation of wrestlers, and it's wonderful.
Yep. That is a gorgeous thing. So as much as I stopped paying attention to wrestling for a long time, the exception, which I'm pissed as fuck that it's not getting renewed, it was Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah.
I got so much excitement out of, especially the match they did at Ultima Lucha, where they had Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr.
Pentagon Jr. is amazing. Him and Rey Fenix.
Oh, so fucking good. Yep. Both of them fucking amazing. And that match, like, Vampiro is old. There's no way. Like, that would be like me putting on wrestling fights, except, having also some skill. But that match was fucking unbelievable, and it did so much to just cement Pentagon as a legitimate bad motherfucker. Like, it was so good.
That's for me, this is the same match that did that, and I know he was already over as a superstar at this point. WWE was looking at him, and I love what he's doing with AEW right now. But it was Kenny Omega versus Jericho at New Japan I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 14, maybe Wrestle Kingdom 15. But it was when Jericho left WWE the last time and when wrestled Kenny Omega, and that was the match that led to Don Callis and everyone being like, okay, What if we made a promotion that rivaled him? But that match, like, because I was watching wrestling just to be like, I want some guys I like are still in. The matches are good. It's much better, like in ring.
Can I have 1 second?
Sure.
I have to pee. I'm going to mute my microphone. You won't see my wiener, but you keep talking.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But like for a while, like I was watching, and
I don't have, for the record, I don't have light in my bathroom. That's not a thing that my house has.
That's okay. I understand. It's a dark place. Yeah, just like the in-ring performance, even when the storylines weren't good, they still had class A wrestlers, and the matches like in-ring were still really good. The fact that they had guys like Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, now John Moxley, like Wyatt, John Huber, rest in peace, when he was Luke Harper, and like they had so many great guys. So even if the stories weren't like great and they were kind of doing like trading wins, the in-ring performance is still great. But now just there's something about the fact that AEW and specifically that Jericho Omega match that it's really forced everyone to up their game. Like WWE isn't great. Like it's not. It has its moments, and its moments are getting greater and greater, and they're not nearly as like far between now from where you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna watch a month and 2 months of this, and there's gonna be one thing that I care about. You can go to Raw, and sure, 3 hours is a drag, but at least there's 1 or 2 storylines you might be interested in, and that'll keep your attention. You can go to SmackDown, and honestly, the fact that Roman Reigns is someone I want to watch right now because they're finally doing a character with him that works instead of being like, here's our new Hulk Hogan, Rock, John Cena, number one man. They're actually like doing
you have to like him.
Yeah, they're actually doing something that makes me like want to watch him because he's playing this tribal like chief heel character so damn well. And I feel that's because they finally have competition again, and they finally have to be like, oh, we have guys that are willing not to come back to us, and we'll go to Impact or New Japan or AEW, which is back on TNT and has all of WCW. Oh no, is it the 90s all over again? Like, I feel spoiled really thinking about like what we have at our disposal right now. If you're a wrestling fan, like it's wonderful.
Like I said, I'm not plugged into the world of wrestling right now, but I have watched some AEW, and I really am enjoying when I see clips of what they're doing, because it's not the WWE. It is so, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of like the Stampede Wrestling when I grew up, which was like you suspended a lot of disbelief, but you did it out of fucking pure joy. Yeah, there were so many good things happening. Like I remember as a kid, Jason the Terrible showed up in Stampede Wrestling, and you know it's this guy named Carl Mott who's wearing the Jason mask and wearing the overalls and stuff. And it didn't matter that there's no way this makes sense that, you know, this guy is actually Jason. Yeah. It didn't matter. It was fun fucking TV to lose yourself in. And I got to tell you this is one of my favorite things. So Heath McCoy made a book a while back. I think it's called Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's all about Stampede Wrestling and about the life of Stu Hart. And he tells this story about Carl Mott, Jason the Terrible, and he was doing his first run wrestling against Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen, however you know him, if you do. And he was really concerned because he'd heard all these stories about how Bad News was like, he was a legit tough motherfucker. He was a judo champion, and like, if he didn't really like you, he might go a little hard in the ring. And Carl Mott was really worried about this, so he talked to the other wrestlers in Stampede, like, what do I do? How do I not get fucked over here? And they told him that what he needed to do was talk to Bad News, just sit down next to him on the bus. This will be the conversation. So he goes over, and they're on the bus, and he sits down next to News, and he looks at him. He's like, "Hey man, I hear your son's a concert pianist, and that you're really proud of him." And News is in on the fucking gag, and like suddenly he's on his back on the ground of the bus with a knife at his throat, and News is like, "Motherfucker, my son's hands got removed by a goddamn farm accident, motherfucker. You think you're funny? And then he's like, oh my god, oh my god. It's just like the shit they used to do to each other, you know? Anyways, I love it.
It's like hearing the old
my childhood.
The old wrestlers' court stories. That
Some
my
of those
favorite
are
is
pretty dark, yeah.
Yeah. My favorite just for recent, especially since it gets used, and the fact that the Miz got kicked out of the dressing room for eating chicken over Benoit's bag, and he had to dress out in the hallway for like half a year because of that. It's like, oh man, welcome to the big leagues, boy.
Yep. It's some of those stories, like everyone always, you know, I loved Owen Hart. You know, again, Stampede Wrestling all the way up to the fucking big league. I loved Owen Hart. But what an asshole backstage. Like, come on. The guy was a prankster, and that's okay in the world of wrestling. But some of the shit that he did, Jesus Christ.
It's funny too, like it seemed like, 'cause I'm a mark. I'm not gonna lie. Every day, one of the first things I do is check the dirt sheets. I watch Wrestle Talk, Cultaholic. Like I am in the wrestling mythos. If I wasn't a musician and I had another 100 pounds on my frame, probably would have found some way to work in wrestling. Probably more as an announcer, if anything. But like, that's just if there's one thing other than music I love, it's professional wrestling. And just, it's funny watching like the old generation kind of gawk at the new generation, being like Taker, for instance, recently was going about like, I don't know, I liked it back when men were men and they had knives in their bags and, you know, things were tough. Nowadays, everyone's soft playing video games, more concerned about what's going on online. It's like, I don't know about you, but I actually like the fact that my performers feel safe and that this kind of culture of you have to push each other down to get to the top for that brass ring that keeps getting hung over your heads.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I don't want to see another Benoit. I don't want to see another Guerrero, Eddie. The fact that we lost John Huber this year due to things that could not be controlled was shitty, but it was nice for once to have a wrestler pass away at a young age for things that didn't pertain to fucking wrestling.
Or drug use from wrestling. You know,
exactly.
Like it's an ugly side of things. And I earlier this year I figured out, or I guess late last year, depending on how you look at calendars.
Yeah.
I figured out that I had Crave and that I could watch Beyond the Mat, not Beyond the Mat.
Dark Side of the Ring?
Dark Side of the Ring, yes. And I watched the Bruiser Brody story like 8 or 9 times because I loved Bruiser Brody as a kid. I didn't get to see him ever, but it was like when I was a kid, you got Stampede Wrestling, you got WWF, you didn't get WCW, UW, or UWF, NWA, any of those. All you got was Stampede and WWE. And then Saturday mornings at like 6 a.m., they would have Pro Wrestling Illustrated with Ed Whalen hosting. And he would talk about, and it was mostly Stampede and WWE, but he would also do matches from World Class Championship Wrestling or from, Carlos Colon's federation in Puerto Rico. And you'd see these guys you've never even heard of or you read about in like Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. But to watch the matches, it's fucking unreal. And I remember seeing Bruiser Brody a couple of times and just being like, what am I watching? Like, what a fucking monster. And then when I heard about his death, and the story gets spoken, but watching that episode, I was like, yeah, man, that shit doesn't happen anymore. Wrestling has a little bit more like, not respectability, but like, there's the industry has evolved. Yeah, the industry has evolved the protocol to look after each other and to care about each other, and I think that's fucking amazing.
I think it is too. For me, like, I've noticed this shift happened, and I'm pretty sure you noticed it too. It was all post Benoit. That's when they really made the shift. And like for me as a wrestling fan, like we won't dive into the other aspects, but let's just say that one hit me closer to home on a way that I can relate to it compared to any other death, period. Like there were aspects of that where it hit a personal core for me. And I was just getting into wrestling at the time, like hardcore. I wanted to go to live events. And then obviously we never had live events in Alberta for a while after that because Benoit's from Edmonton. And that was a very sour note. But just like the fact that it took took a tragedy to that magnitude and something that was on the news and dissected and criticized for half a year. Like, I remember this was also the time where I got very invested in keeping an eye on politics and how was the message being thrown? What was the narrative that was being strived around this? Because for once, like, something I very much enjoyed was getting criticized because of something that I even found horrible. So having to watch like Cena, Jericho, Booker T, Roddy Piper at one point too, all go out and try to like talk about their friend and about the things that they wished that they had spoken up for or noticed, and being like Jericho talking about Benoit flubbing a very like unimportant arm drag and then taking himself down to the boiler room and basically putting himself through physical torture through his like routine regimen of, okay, I fucked up. Well, 1,000 squats, 1,000 push-ups. That's what we do when we fuck up. And just mentally also deteriorating after Eddie's death and how little help he got. There was something about the Dark Side of the Ring episode that I thought it hit me really hard, because I've watched that two-parter a few times. Just, it's nice being able to look back and see, like, after years of like CNN, Nancy Grace bullshit going down and being like, this is why pro wrestling's bad. None of these people are good. And being like, okay, let's get into the heart of this. It was really disgusting to see how Vince treated David and the rest of the family after that. And I thought I think that was, aside from them being like, we can tell the style's changed, I thought that was probably the most heartwarming moment there, was the fact that Jericho got David and his aunt in the same room again for the first time after that, since that tragedy happened. And hearing that David had basically had everyone disconnected from him, from the one side of the family to his wrestling family. Like, the kid had nothing for decades. And now, like, I don't agree with it, but I think it's commendable that he wants to wrestle under his dad's name and he wants to do things to remember the wrestler he was. But it's impossible to talk about Benoit without everything else. But it's tragic that had to be the moment where the industry got a hard look at itself. You would have thought it would have been the steroid scandal in the 90s, but it took something on that magnitude.
Yeah,
like Owen Hart
over that.
Like, you thought Owen Hart would have been it too. Like, that's another Dark Side of the Ring that was really hard to watch.
Yeah. Both of those I found, because, you know, as a kid growing up watching the Hart family and Chris Benoit as Stampede wrestlers and being so deeply invested. Like, when I remember when the four of them showed up at, Benoit, Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn showed up at a WWE match, and I was like, this is fucking happening.
Just sitting in the crowd, just like being like, oh, we're here to fuck shit up.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm so all over this. And then when they finally got, like, Chris Benoit got the chance to shine in WWF,
that triple threat,
bam, my head fucking explodes. And I'm 16 all over again, just like, you know, punching a pillow, going, yeah, motherfucker, yeah.
Dude, his theme song too. Like, when you heard his theme, that like, you were like, it's similar to the Hardy's theme song. It just makes you go, oh yeah, here we go. Some Triple H's too. You're just like, it's time to play the game. Like I said, makes you feel young again.
And that's to me, that's the thing about like all the people that are like, oh, you should just, you know, why do you not know it's not fake and stuff? It doesn't matter that it's fake. It's a moment. It's an experience that you have. That music hits. Like, for me, it was also The Rock or Stone Cold. Like, you know, their music would hit, especially Stone Cold, with that, like, that glass shattering, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down. And I know it's not real shit. I know there's nothing that's going to happen that's actually going to hurt a guy. But
oh, that's like with me with I love Cult of Personality, great track, but when Punk used to come out to This Fire by Killswitch, and you just heard that pick scrape followed it, it's like, oh yes, bring it right now. And I will say the theme songs now are lacking, and that's, I get why WWE does everything in-house now. They just don't hit the same they used to, but those ones that they did, and when they come out, I love the fact that when they connect, like when we brought up Edge and Metalingus and everything, the fact that he picked that. He sought that one out because he knew, like, that's what I want to come out to every night. That's what's going to get me in the zone so that I can portray this character for the audience and make this a more believable thing. It comes down to like artists performing the music. If you believe in what you're putting out there, it's going to be 100 times easier for you to showcase it and get into quote unquote character to do your thing.
Totally. Here's a weird question for you. Have you ever heard of CRW, Canadian Rock Wrestling?
No, but I'm writing that down right now.
It's not what you think. It's so it's a gaming page on Facebook, and I'm sure it's on other medias as well. But basically, they take local bands. So Calgary's band, the Morons, are part of the stable, and they build characters that look like each of the members of the bands, and then they do like, you know, WWE, whatever WWE video game, but they have like, you know, Big D and the kids table taking on the Maroons or whatever, and they do these matches and they live stream it, and it is so much fucking fun, man. I have to say, I thoroughly love it.
Wrote that down. I'm checking that shit out. That is right up my alley. It is
so worth it. They're actually sending me a shirt right now because I got into watching it because I saw the Maroons post a thing and they're like, "We're gonna be wrestling," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I saw what it was and I was like, "This is even cooler than if they were actually wrestling."
Yeah.
I'm 100% okay with it. And they made some, you know, Nickelback reference, and I don't even remember what I made, like, you know, Nickel broke or some, you know, some stupid thing, but they were like, "Yeah, make a Nickelback joke. That guy wins a free T-shirt." I was like, "All right, I will get a free T-shirt." So that's in the mail apparently.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just dumb fun, right? And I'm pretty sure it's all like computer run. They're probably not sitting there playing video games or anything like this, but it's fun to watch. And they go all out. Like, they do the full wrestling show vibe, and they do big matches. And like, they just today I just looking at the thing. It's like taking Battle of the Bands to a whole new level. The best interactive virtual wrestling simulation league out right now. And it kind of is. It's a lot of fun.
That might take up the next foreseeable hours of my life.
But that's why we were given a life, right? Is to waste it doing things that probably no one else gets, but like, we're like, damn, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. We do what we love, right?
I love the shit out of our conversation. It's been actually like over 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, I feel like we could probably do this again real soon and talk for another 8 or 10 hours.
I think so too.
I promise I probably won't pee. Well, I probably will. If we're going 2 hours, I'm an old man. You know, shit doesn't go the way it used to. But I got to finish cooking dinner. We were talking about that.
Do what you got to do.
I got like 90% of the way through I'm making my signature dish, lasagna. And I got 90% through cooking the sauce. And then I was like, fuck, I got to go do all the things and get things set up. And so now I should probably like feed my children. It's 9:15 at night and they're like wasting away to nothing. Emaciated little pricks. But dude, I've had a bunch of great time chatting with you. I'm glad we talked wrestling. It's been just good. And I love this, you know, like this is the connection, the kind of stuff that I love about our music community and about, you know, the whole point of these Yammer things is just connecting with people, and you know, it's a fucking beautiful thing that we're not doing enough of right now.
No, I agree. I've had a lot of fun. I know we could probably talk about so much more stuff. We'll save that for another time. Whenever you want to do it, just let me know.
I absolutely will, my brother.
In the words of Mick Foley, have a nice day. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Take care, man. We'll see you soon.